Before the sirens, before the headlines, before anyone knew what this day would become, it was just another afternoon. A normal one. At Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, students were watching the clock, waiting for the final bell. Teachers were gathering papers. Hallways echoed with the familiar sounds of backpacks zipping and lockers closing. Nothing felt urgent. Nothing felt dangerous. That detail matters. Because tragedy doesn't announce itself. It arrives quietly, and then, all at once. At 2:19 p.m., the school was still functioning like any other weekday. At 2:28 p.m., the first emergency call reached dispatch. The voice on the other end of the line was shaking. Words overlapped. Breath came in sharp gasps. In the background, there was screaming. Raw, uncontrolled, unmistakable. The dispatcher did not ask many questions. They didn't need to. In less than a minute, patrol units across Broward County were moving. As deputies drove toward the school, their body cameras activated automatically. No one pressed a button. No one paused to prepare. The cameras simply turned on. And from that moment forward, nothing would be left to memory alone. Sirens filled the audio. Engines roared. One deputy can be heard whispering under his breath, not into the radio, but to himself. Another says nothing at all. The closer they get, the quieter the officers become. When the first units arrive, the scene is already unraveling. Students flood out of campus entrances. Some are crying. Some are running without direction. A few move slowly, as if their bodies haven't caught up with what their minds are processing. Officers raise their voices, not in anger, but urgency. Run! Keep moving! Don't stop! Hands where I can see them! These commands are not routine. They are survival instructions. At this moment, police don't know who the shooter is. They don't know where the shooter is. And they don't know if the person responsible is standing among the crowd. Every second matters. The body cam footage becomes unstable as officers push forward against the tide of fleeing students. Inside the freshman building, the sound changes instantly. Fire alarms scream without pause. The noise is overwhelming. It presses against the ears. It fills every hallway. The building looks wrong. Backpacks lie scattered across the floor, unclaimed. A single shoe rests near a doorway. Papers are spread across the tiles like they were dropped mid-step. Deputies move carefully, weapons raised, eyes scanning corners and door frames. "Sheriff's office," they call out again and again. "If you're alive, make noise." Some respond with quiet knocking. Others respond with sobbing. Some do not respond at all. Each closed door carries the same question. Time stretches inside the building. Seconds feel heavier here. Radios crackle with updates, each one adding weight. Possible victim located. Requesting EMS. Multiple victims confirmed. An officer pauses in the hallway just for a moment. His body camera records his breathing. He doesn't speak into the radio. "This is bad," he says quietly, not as an assessment, as an admission. When the final classrooms are cleared, one fact becomes unavoidable. The gunfire has stopped. Not because the threat was stopped, but because the person responsible is gone. The building is secured, but the danger has not ended. And outside the school, a new phase is already beginning. Before we continue, if you value documentary-style true crime told with care and respect, consider subscribing to the channel. You are very close to something powerful and professional. When the gunfire stopped, The fear didn't. Inside the building, officers stood among empty hallways and unanswered questions. Outside, thousands of people were still running, away from something no one could see. And somewhere beyond the school grounds, the person responsible was moving freely. In the minutes after the last classroom is cleared, a quiet realization spreads through law enforcement. The threat is no longer inside the building. There is no barricaded suspect, no final confrontation. The shooter has left. This is one of the most dangerous moments in any active shooting response, when police understand that the person they are searching for could be anywhere. Bodycam footage captures officers stepping outside, scanning parking lots, streets, tree lines. The campus is no longer the only concern, the city is. As deputies secure the perimeter, the school becomes eerily still. The fire alarm continues to scream. Lights flicker in empty classrooms. Personal items remain exactly where they were dropped. Backpacks against walls, jackets on chairs, phones buzzing unanswered in pockets. Officers move slower now, not because the danger is gone, but because the weight has arrived. Bodycams record moments no one intended to film. A deputy kneeling briefly near a doorway, resting a hand on the floor before standing again. Another officer staring at a classroom door long after it has been cleared. No words are exchanged. Earlier, the radio was frantic. Now it becomes controlled, measured, but tense. Descriptions are repeated carefully: clothing, direction of travel, last known movements. Dispatchers speak slowly, deliberately, knowing every word matters. Officers acknowledge commands with short replies. Copy, received, on it. This is no longer chaos. This is a manhunt. Outside the campus, students are being escorted away in groups. Some are barefoot, some are holding hands. Some look over their shoulders repeatedly, as if expecting something to follow. Parents begin arriving, confused, panicked, desperate for information. Bodycams capture officers trying to manage crowds while knowing they don't yet have answers. One deputy tells a parent quietly, "We're still searching." The words land heavily. Law enforcement vehicles flood nearby streets. Helicopters circle overhead. Patrol units spread out. Shopping centers, residential neighborhoods, parks. Bodycam footage shows officers stopping pedestrians, asking brief questions, checking directions. Every person who fits the description is looked at twice, sometimes 3 times. The tension does not ease, it multiplies. Minutes stretch into an hour. With every passing moment, a new fear emerges. What if he strikes again? Bodycams capture officers exchanging glances, tightening grips on equipment, scanning crowds with heightened focus. No one relaxes, not yet. At approximately 3:41 p.m., a deputy notices a man walking near a Walmart. The moment is quiet. There is no dramatic music, no sudden movement, just recognition. The man matches the description. The deputy slows his vehicle. The bodycam records the approach. Commands are given clearly. Stop, hands up, turn around. The man complies. There is no chase, no resistance, no visible emotion. He places his hands behind his back. Handcuffs click shut. The sound is loud in the quiet moment. The bodycam records the suspect's face, calm, detached, unremarkable. He does not ask about the school. He does not mention the victims. He says very little at all. As the suspect is placed into custody, the tone shifts again, not to relief, to gravity. Officers speak softly now. Radio traffic confirms the arrest, but no one celebrates because everyone understands what this means. The danger has ended, but the damage is permanent. Back on campus, officers begin the slow transition from response to aftermath. Evidence markers appear. Crime scene tape stretches farther. The building stands silent, still screaming through its alarms. Body cams continue to record, not because something is happening, but because something already has. The search was over, but the story was only beginning. Because now came the part that cameras cannot soften. When the suspect was taken into custody, the city exhaled for the first time in hours. But relief was brief. Because an arrest does not erase what has already happened. It only confirms that it cannot be undone. Inside the interrogation room, time feels different. The room is small, plain, deliberately unremarkable. No windows, neutral walls, a table bolted to the floor. The camera is already recording when the suspect is brought in. There is no urgency now, only procedure. The man sits alone for several minutes before anyone speaks to him. He shifts in his chair, looks around, breathes evenly. This quiet is not peace, it is distance. Investigators enter calmly. They speak slowly. They explain his rights. Each word is measured. The suspect acknowledges them, nodding slightly. When questions begin, his answers are short, controlled, careful. Some questions receive responses, others do not. There is no emotional release, no visible regret, no collapse under the weight of what has occurred. The camera records everything, including what is missing. Investigators do not press for drama. They don't need to, because this case is not built on confession. It is built on record. Body cameras, surveillance footage, radio logs, timelines. Evidence that does not react, explain, or persuade. It simply exists. Elsewhere, teams begin the slow process of reconstruction. Screens line the walls. Multiple angles play at once. Officers watch themselves running toward danger. They watch moments they don't remember clearly because adrenaline distorted time. The footage clarifies what memory cannot. Movements are synchronized, paths traced, minutes counted. The narrative forms not from opinion, but from fact. As days pass, selected portions of footage are released publicly, not all at once, not without consideration. Each release brings a new wave of reaction. For the public, the footage is shocking. For families, it is personal. Some choose to watch every second, others choose not to watch at all. Both choices carry weight. For families of the victims, body cam footage is not just evidence, it is the last known record of moments that can never be recovered. Footsteps in hallways, voices on radios, doors opening and closing. The footage does not show the lives that were lived before that day, but it confirms that they were there, that they mattered. As footage circulates, questions emerge. They are not shouted, they are asked quietly. Could things have been different? What systems failed? What warnings were missed? The footage does not answer these questions, but it does not hide from them either. It becomes a mirror, one that institutions and individuals are forced to look into. Some officers later describe watching their own body cam footage. They remember how it felt, but the camera shows how it looked. The difference between the two can be difficult to reconcile. Movements replayed, pauses examined, decisions frozen in time. This creates a unique burden, one that does not fade when the uniform comes off. Legally, the case progresses. Charges are formalized. Hearings are scheduled. Years pass between moments of public attention. But for those directly affected, time does not soften the edges. It only stretches the distance between what was and what will never be again. Evidence does not raise its voice. It does not demand belief. It waits. And in this case, it waits patiently because it knows it will be seen. By the time the legal process truly began, the emergency had long since passed. There were no sirens now, no running footsteps, no shouted commands, only paperwork, court dates, and the quiet understanding that what had been lost could never be restored. The weeks after the shooting do not move in a straight line. For some families, time feels frozen. For others, it rushes forward uncontrollably. News cycles move on, cameras pack up, but grief does not follow schedules. The school remains closed, students are relocated. Hallways once filled with voices now sit empty, waiting for decisions that feel impossible to make. When court proceedings begin, they do so quietly. There is no spectacle, no dramatic confrontations, just rows of wooden benches, muted colors, controlled voices. The suspect enters under guard. He does not look toward the gallery. The room remains still. The camera records, but nothing about this moment feels cinematic. It feels heavy. Years after the shooting, the suspect enters a guilty plea. There is no trial to determine what happened. That question was answered long ago by evidence, by footage, by record. What remains is sentencing, and the weight of it settles slowly across the courtroom. When families step forward to speak, the room changes. The air feels different. Some carry prepared statements, others speak from memory. A few can barely speak at all. They describe ordinary moments now made unbearable. Empty chairs at dinner tables, phones that will never ring again, bedrooms left untouched as if time might still reverse itself. The courtroom listens. No one interrupts. These statements are not arguments. They are not meant to persuade. They are simply attempts to be heard. Some parents speak directly to the person responsible. Others refuse to acknowledge him at all. Both choices carry meaning. The camera captures faces, not for reaction, but for record. When sentencing arrives, it is delivered plainly. There is no raised voice, no dramatic pause. Life in prison, no possibility of parole. The words land quietly, final, permanent. Nothing is added, nothing needs to be. When the courtroom empties, families leave one by one. Some hold hands.
Against you in the prosecution of this case. State, how would you like to proceed today? Are you seeking to hold the defendant no bond and a finding of proof evident, presumption great?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you may proceed.
Your Honor, the state's relying on the sworn affidavit that the court has been provided as to the 17 counts of first-degree murder and the contents of the sworn affidavit by detectives citing the actions of the defendant in going to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School on February 14th, 2018, with a premeditated design in that he went loaded with an AR-15 rifle. He had additional ammunition with him and shot 17 individuals who later died as a result of the gunshot wounds, and then he fled the scene. So the state is seeking a no bond hold on the defendant.
Okay, defense?
Your Honor, the defense has no arguments at this time and will defer until further court proceedings. We would formally invoke Mr. Cruz's right to remain silent, and that notification relates to any law enforcement agencies that are involved in this case, both at a state and federal level.
Okay, I've reviewed the probable cause affidavit. Mr. Cruz filed in your case, and I find probable cause. I further find the proof of guilt to be evident or the presumption great. Therefore, Mr. Cruz, you're going to be held without bond until further order of the court. This order is without prejudice for you to file a motion to set bond with your assigned division judge and request a hearing under State v. Arthur. Does anybody know, has he been assigned a division judge yet?
Yes, he has, Your Honor. He's been assigned to Judge Shears.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Sir, you're going to be held no bond.
Some walk alone. Outside, the world continues moving. Cars passing, people going about their days. Inside, something has ended. Not the grief, but the waiting. The case closes legally, but it remains open emotionally. Memorials still stand. Anniversaries still arrive. Bodycam footage still exists, unchanged, unaltered, permanent. It is not watched for answers anymore. It is watched for remembrance. Justice can set boundaries. It can draw lines, but it cannot heal. It can only acknowledge. Long after the courtroom lights are turned off, the silence lingers. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of reflection. The kind that settles in places where noise once lived. When the cameras first turned on that afternoon, they were responding to an emergency. They were never meant to capture history, but history doesn't ask for permission. In the days after the sentencing, the world outside the courtroom keeps moving. Traffic lights still change. Schools still open elsewhere. People still go to work, to stores, to dinner. But certain places do not return to normal. They remain marked, not by tape or barriers, but by memory. The school stands quiet for a long time, too quiet. Body camera footage remains stored on servers, archived and time-stamped. It does not fade, it does not soften, it does not forget. When played back, it shows moments exactly as they happened. Not how people remember them, not how people wish they had happened, just as they were. Footsteps in hallways, radios crackling, breathing through masks. Ordinary sounds made permanent by extraordinary circumstances. For the officers who responded that day, the footage becomes something personal. Some never watch it again. Others watch it once. A few watch it many times. They remember how fast their hearts were beating, how loud the alarms felt, how time seemed to stretch and compress all at once. The camera shows only what the body did. It does not show the weight carried afterward. For families, the footage exists in a different space. Not as evidence, not as documentation, but as a boundary, a line between before and after. Some families choose never to see it. Others watch pieces of it, not to relive pain, but to understand, to know where help arrived, to know someone tried, to know their loved one was not alone. Years pass, students graduate, new families move into the area, but the story does not disappear. It is told quietly, carefully, not as spectacle, but as reminder. Memorials are maintained, names are spoken aloud, the absence is acknowledged. This case does not endure because of violence, it endures because of documentation, because cameras recorded truth without interpretation. They did not assign meaning, they did not seek emotion, they simply witnessed. And in doing so, they prevented the story from being rewritten. Cameras can show where people stood, they can show what doors were opened, they can show when help arrived. But they cannot show fear inside a locked classroom. They cannot show thoughts in a final moment. They cannot show love, or hope, or futures that were never lived. Those things exist beyond the frame. The final footage is not dramatic. There is no movement, just an empty hallway. Lights humming softly. A camera still recording long after everyone has left. It does not shut itself off. It waits. Some events never truly end. They stop happening, and then they are remembered. Not through headlines, not through arguments, but through quiet moments preserved in time. This story was not told to shock, it was told to remember. And because it was recorded, it cannot be forgotten. For more long-form, documentary-style true crime stories told with care and respect, subscribe to the channel.